everyone. Before the horror begins, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share in the comment where you're from and what time you're watching. It helps YouTube bring the best horror straight to your screen. Now, let's start. What stirs beneath the surface when a riverbank's waters grow still? Some currents cradle shadows that whisper your deepest fears. They are ripples weaving terrors that cling long after you've fled the shore. Tonight, we wade into 3 chilling tales of riverbank horrors, where the water's edge pulses with something sinister. Grip your flashlight tight, stay far from the current, and listen carefully, because some rivers claim more than your reflection. Story 1. The driftwood that stared. The driftwood pulsed at midnight, its gnarled bark forming pale, unblinking eyes that glowed with a sickly green light, staring from the muddy bank of a Tennessee river under a moonless sky. I was alone, shattered by a breakup over my constant lies. My ex's words, "you're nothing," carving deep into my soul like a blade. The air was thick with damp earth and a sour metallic stench that burned my throat. The bank littered with slick stones, tangled reeds, and faint scratches in the mud like claw marks. The eyes multiplied, shimmering across the driftwood's twisted surface, their gaze heavy with judgment, as if they saw every fracture in my worth. The mud churned violently, forming the words, "Stay here," in jagged, glowing lines across the silt, shimmering green, as if scratched by unseen claws scraping through the river's ancient core. The air turned bitterly cold, my breath fogging in thick clouds, as the driftwood hissed, whispering my name in her voice, warped, hollow, accusing me of destroying our love with deceit. My flashlight flickered, its beam catching a figure in the shadow stall, featureless, its limbs unnaturally long, its void face glowing with those eyes, its stare searing my skin like frostbite. The mud oozed black tar, forming clawing hands that gripped my boots, their touch burning with an acid-like chill that throbbed with my racing pulse. I stumbled back, but the driftwood twisted like living vines, the words morphing to "you knew," glowing brighter, the whispers swelling into a scream that shook the drooping willows. The bark pulsed, reflecting eyeless faces moaning my guilt or pain, my cowardice, a heart shattered forever. The figure's tarry hands rose from the mud, searing the reeds, the driftwood splintering, dripping tar that shaped more screaming faces, naming every regret I'd buried deep. I bolted for the path, tripping over slick roots as the bank quaked, the tar flooding the ground, the faces screaming my name in a deafening, otherworldly chorus. I fled into the foggy night, the figure's shadow chasing, its eyes glowing through the river's suffocating mist. I avoid rivers now, but my boots glow at night, reflecting those pale eyes in their souls. My path traces stay here in tar, shimmering under moonlight, and my skin burns, etched with the chill of that night. Some driftwood sees your sins before you dare to wade too deep. Story 2. The ripple that screamed. The ripple screeched at 1 a.m., its glassy surface forming a pale, eyeless face that screamed silently, its wail piercing the darkness of an Oregon riverbank under a starless sky. I was with my sister, haunted by a failed scholarship application that crushed my college dreams. The dean's words, "you're not enough," ringing in my head like a relentless echo. The air was heavy with moss and a rotting fishy stench that stung my lungs. The bank littered with driftwood, whetstones, and a faint glint of broken glass from a shattered bottle. The face traced the words, "come closer," in glowing, jagged lines across the water's surface, pulsing red, as if written in blood seeping from the current's depths. The scream grew louder, the ripple trembling, its surface splitting to reveal carvings my name, my failures, my lost ambitions, etched as if by claws, pulsing with a sickly green light that burned my eyes. The air chilled, my breath catching, as the mud oozed black sludge, forming slimy hands that gripped my ankles, burning with an icy touch that scorched the earth beneath. Shadows danced in the lantern's flickering beam, tall and thin. There, void faces smiling with jagged, unseen teeth, their limbs stretching toward us like twisted reeds crawling across the bank. The wail became a chorus, naming my shame-missed deadlines, botched essays, a future slipping, a waste welling into a shriek that shook the overhanging trees. My phone died, then flared, showing figures rising from the sludge, dripping and clawing, their eyes glowing green, their mouths moaning my failures. The sludge hands pulled harder, the words shifting to you, called us, the carvings bleeding black, oil that reeked of decay, pooling into more accusing faces. The ripple surged, its surface forming eyeless faces that screamed my name in a deafening, unearthly roar. We tore for the trail, sprinting past gnarled vines as the bank quaked, the lantern sparking in bursts of flame, the figures lunging with clawing hands, their touch searing the air around us. The sludge flooded, forming countless faces, their shrieks chasing us to the gravel road. I escaped, the river trembling behind me, but my mirrors hum at night, tracing come closer in glowing ripples, the stench of rot lingering in the air. Some ripples sing your failures back to you. Story 3, the current that breathed. The current pulsed at 2 a.m., its swirling water forming a pale, eyeless face that whispered, freezing my blood to ice. I was on a solo walk along a Georgia riverbank, grieving my mother's death from a prolonged illness I couldn't prevent. Her last words, "You weren't there," burning in my memory like a wound. The air was sharp with rust and a coppery, blood-like tang. The bank, lit by flickering starlight, casting twisted shadows on wet rocks, tangled vines, and patches of rotting moss. The face whispered, "Stay with me," in her voice, warped, hollow, accusing me of absence during her final, agonizing moments. The mud oozed black tar, reeking of decay, pooling into clawing hands that burned my legs with acid-like heat that throbbed with each desperate step. The air grew heavier, the current thickening, dripping black oil that formed accusing faces, my mother's, my family's, their mouths moving, blaming me for missing her pain, her cries in the hospital's sterile silence. My flashlight flickered, revealing figures in the shadows, tall, their limbs twisting like gnarled vines scraping the rocks, leaving wet, glowing marks that pulsed green. The current screamed my name, the tar hands tightening, searing my skin with burns that lingered like scars. The stars vanished, the bank closing in, the oil flooding, shaping countless faces that echoed my guilt in a chorus of unrelenting rage. The ground shook, the figures lunging, their clawing hands reaching, their screams deafening my senses. I hacked through the vines with a knife, my hands bleeding as the current surged, the tar flooding, the faces roaring her name in a relentless, haunting wail. I fled at the road, the riverbank splintering behind me, the screams chasing me through the freezing night. I walk elsewhere now, but my windows fog at night, forming my eyeless face in the glass, glowing faintly green. My hands burn with the word "stay" etched in my skin, and the air smells of tar, whispering her name in the dark. Some currents hold your grief forever. Which of these riverbank nightmares would you survive until dawn? Share your own chilling encounters in the comments. Have you ever felt the water watch you wade? Like the video, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell for more terrors. From the shadows, something darker waits by the next river. We'll see you there.